What is up, guys? I hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering r/NoSleep. These stories have been kindly provided to us by SoLonely200 on Reddit. His information is down in the description below. If you do enjoy this story, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell. And with that being said, let's get started. I watch people in cages, part 1. My job, well, is that I keep people in cages. Yes, I know it's inhumane. No, I don't care for your opinion on it. There's a reason I do what I do. The people are all of ordinary appearance. Some are fat, some skinny, some have blonde hair, others are brunettes. If it were up to me, I'd let the people go, but I can't. They all did something, and now they're in cages. The cages aren't cramped or anything. They're each about 5 by 5 by 5. There are 7 cages total. Each one holds a different person from a different background. Every 3 days, one gets taken away and another is wheeled in. Never a member of the opposite sex either. If a man was in the cage, he'd be replaced by a man. Same for women. I don't know their names, but it's not my job to. I'm paid to feed them and watch them. I've given the cages names, which is then passed on to their occupants. Cage 1 is Fred. Usually, Fred's occupants are between 5'7" and 5'10". They always have brown hair, but styles and length vary, as does their weight. They are to be given 14 ounces of AB plus blood once every 7 hours. No mirrors within 30 feet of their cage. Cage 2 is Cassie. All of the Cassies have been 5'4" or 5'6", never 5'5". They're always blonde, smaller women, petite one might say. They're to be given exactly 40 fluid ounces of water and a pound of raw meat daily. Cassie's cage is electrified unless she's being fed. Cage 3 is Earl. Earl is always a scruffy looking dude with a handlebar mustache. Hair doesn't matter, nor does colour. His rules are simple: 1 jar of mustache wax and a copy of the Times. However, the copy must always be not from within the previous year. He's also not to be given hair tonic for any reason. Cage 4 is Mary. Mary is always a religious type, which religion varies. So far, as I can tell, we've had 3 Muslims, 5 Christians, 5 pagans and 2 Hindu Marys. They're almost always 5'3" and have varied in weight. No set rules, so I just give them whatever I have available as food. Well, except one. They're not allowed any access to holy or religious imagery, no matter what. Cage 5 is Chad. Chad is always a blonde guy, usually clean cut with clothes that indicate high social status. Designer clothes and the like. Don't much care for Chad. He's to be given a cup of some green liquid. The liquid never kills them, doesn't even make them sick. Chad doesn't talk much, mainly because when he does, a black ood comes out of every hole on his face. Freaky at first, but you get used to it. Cage 6 is Bob. Bob is interesting, mainly because I can't tell what each person has in common. So far we've had all males, but they've consisted of 7 African Americans, 14 Caucasians, 8 Asians, and 3 mixed race. They've been everything from plumbers to bankers, and even homeless. Oh well, the mystery goes on. No set rules in place. They do require cleanup though. On day 2, their eyes are always missing, replaced with, oddly enough, 2 coins. They never seem to be in pain however, even making idle chat with me. And finally, Cage 7 has only ever been 1 occupant. She's never been taken away. She's a 6-year-old girl named Lisa. She has a blue dress, blonde hair and pigtails, and an ever-present smile. The weird part? She's been here for at least a decade, hasn't aged a day. All she ever does is sit in her cage. She's given colouring books and 30 minutes of TV time daily. Again, I don't make the rules. All I know is these people all did something the higher-ups won't tell me. So now we have the cages, the very unique and specifically made cages. I found this job through, of all things, Craigslist. The previous guard, whose name was not disclosed, left instructions for the feeding, maintenance, etc. of the people. He listed their many quirks and how to handle each situation as it may arise. I was weirded out, but you get used to it, you know. That was 2010, and here we are now, 2020, and I'm still watching people in cages. Previous guy told me that there used to be simple beds, with each of the various characters strapped to them. All of them, except Lisa. Lisa was always given a small feather bed, and while she was strapped in, was always tucked into a blanket like one would do to a child. My boss, or at least a guy who tells me my job, is an older guy. His left hand is kind of fucked up. He said it was a cooking accident, hot grease as it were. He could pass for an aging movie star in all honesty. Salt and pepper hair, with a voice like a knife through butter. Something is a little off about him though. I swear, I never remember his face correctly, it always looks different than I remember. Anyway, my boss, who goes by TD, told me that the previous guy held his post for 30 years. The pay is good, don't get me wrong, but 30 years? A bit long. My first day on the job, I was shown the cages and explained what would be happening with the people. All I'm allowed to know is that they did something really bad. So now they're locked away for 3 days. The beds were revoked for a reason no one has ever made clear. Something about teeth and a missing ear. Anyway. For 10 years it's remained this way. Every 3 days, someone leaves and someone enters. All except for Lisa. Every new person gets the same treatment as the one they replace. What worries me is what happened yesterday. They added an 8th cage. Part 2. Hey everyone. So a lot of you guys had some interesting theories as to why people were locked away. And while they piqued my interest, I won't investigate the matter any further. Not my job to ask questions. The installation of the 8th cage wrapped up yesterday, and today they brought in the first occupant. They brought in an old man. He wasn't even able to stand. They had to wheel him in as he was wheelchair bound. I couldn't imagine why they felt the need to lock him away. He wore an old respirator over his face, connected to an oxygen tank on his back. He looked about 90 and fit comfortably into his cage. I heard his ribs rattle with every breath as the door was locked shut. Instructions for care, as directed by TD, were 1 live rodent up to 5 pounds in weight. This was to be fed to him once per day. I think I'll call this one Bill for now. Seems fitting somehow. Today, they took another of the Freds away. 2 hours later he was replaced by a different man, but ticking the usual boxes. 5'8", brown hair, the usual. This Fred was morbidly obese, at least 400 or so pounds. Mary was saying her usual prayers and Lisa was colouring. A quiet day on the job, as they usually were. That was until feeding time. No surprises, until I got to Bill. The old man didn't even seem aware of his surroundings, if I'm being honest. He looked to be on death's door. Truthfully, I wondered what anyone in his state could have done. I tossed in a large rat, still squirming. He caught it quickly. He lifted off his mask just enough to expose his mouth and unhinged his fucking jaw like a snake. He ate it whole, bones and all. I jumped back a bit, startled by the sudden motion from a seemingly weak old man. I moved on to Bob. Bob's eyes were replaced today. Oh, by the way, feel I should mention, the coins aren't the same kind of coins every time. They've been everything from American coins to Greek drachmas. Anyway, the cleanup comes in with cleaning up the blood from the replacement. Yeah, it's not as clean as I may have implied. They aren't just in his sockets, they're stitched there. There's usually quite a bit of blood. This particular Bob is an investment banker, so he claims, from Manhattan. He's a middle-aged guy, about 35 if I had to guess. This time, his eyes were a pair of 50-cent pieces, the JFK ones if I had to guess. Grabbing a mop, a bucket of water and a stun gun for Bob, I got to work. The cleanup process usually takes 20 to 30 minutes. Next was bringing Lisa a television for allotted 30 minutes. She always preferred to watch movies like Cannibal Holocaust or The Human Centipede. Her favourite movie is a Serbian film. The TV? Well, it's one of the ones you'd see at school, like on a wheel table, strapped down. You know what I mean. She had a doll that I hadn't seen with her before. She had a teddy bear, as was part of her instructions for care. Didn't think it was important, so I didn't mention it. But this doll was new. The doll had 2 hollow sockets for eyes and chunks of black hair stapled to the head. It wore a blue dress similar to Lisa's. In place of hands, it had what appeared to be the paws of cats. It stood about 2 feet tall. Its face had a perpetual grin. Again, not unlike the young girl to whom it was in possession of. I made a note to inform the higher-ups and moved on to the next cage. Then it was grabbing an archive paper and a jar of mustache wax for Earl. He grumbled at a thank you and retreated to a corner of his cell. Fred had made a mess with his meal of human blood. Sighing, I grabbed the mop again. My job, as you can tell, is not very exciting. The worst part is the waiting. Every once in a while, one of my guests tries to escape. Thus, I have a loaded assault rifle with anti-personnel rounds next to my small desk I monitor them from. Oh, my workstation. I don't know why I haven't told you all about it. I have a desk with 14 monitors. The monitors on the bottom show the occupants in their cages. The ones on the top have vital readings. If they ever get too low or too high, I'm to press a button to call in special staff to take care of it. Again, I'm not told why they can't, but I assume it's to do with their health. But feeding them raw meat and human blood likely isn't helping matters, so I'm not entirely sure on that if I'm being perfectly honest with you. The most common breakout is the Marys. To date, 15 Marys have escaped, resulting in 42 casualties. Freds have escaped 6 times with 20 casualties. One Fred I saw drank a guy's blood like a juice box. His jugular was the straw. The rest have tried as well, but not with the success of Mary and Fred, except for Lisa, who has never tried, at least not while I've been here. My rifle is the last resort if the security fails, but thankfully, I haven't needed to use it, yet. So while my job's dull, I'm always on edge, especially as I don't know much about 8, yet. The weirdest part is the constant weeping I hear from 8's cage. I'm curious about the next occupant of cage 8 if I'm being honest, if there ever is one. Guess we'll find out in 3 days, huh? Or whenever they move him out. Oh, and I feel I should clarify that they aren't taken out in certain order. There's always a chance the next one will be Fred, or hell, it might be Lisa. Point is, there's no set rotation. They're just taken randomly. Anyway, my next shift is about to start, so I have to check in with you all later. Till next time. Edit. Okay, well I know what I said, but this is some major shit. Lisa is gone. Not broken out, just fucking gone. I was watching the monitors, and 1 second she's there, the next, poof, gone. I've put the place in lockdown, sounded the alarm, the whole 9 yards. I keep you guys updated as best as I can. Edit 2, well, there are a lot of dead bodies. Good news is I'm still kicking. Bad news, Lisa is missing in action. But the doll, well, that's in cage 8 now. TD got here an hour ago, and I gave him the rundown. He seems extra freaked out that Lisa vanished, especially on the same day as 8's arrival. It's not my job to ask questions, but I'm starting to. I'll keep you guys informed. And that is where I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger, guys. If you enjoyed these episodes, be sure to tune in the same time tomorrow for the rest of the parts. And as said, the writers' details are all in the description below. Be sure to pay them a visit and read the story there as well. And if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe and notification bell. And I will see you in the next one. Much love, guys.